This is going out to your hood straight from mine. Hey yo, let's take a walk in blue skies and sunshine. Come on.
Blue skies, sunshine, what a day. Let's take a walk in the...
So, hallo, here is Uwe Boll. First of all, you remember the German movie? I said it's very good, Toni Erdmann. It won all the European film prizes now. And it will be nominated for Best Foreign Language Oscar. So, check that movie out. And also, now Rampage Present Down should be on Netflix right now, but it's also on iTunes and some other outlets. Please pay some money for it. Buy the DVD on Amazon. You know, it is my last movie. You should own it. I watched 13th is a documentation about blacks, basically the Negroes in America and the history of everything. And I mean, most of it is known, and we all know all of it. But one important thing was in it. So when the Civil War was over and the slaves were free, the South had a real problem because now they basically should pay the workers working on the fields, etc. But in their greed, they didn't want to do it. And you know what that started? The prison system in America. So they criminalized the black people and basically, whatever, trespassing, 2 years in prison, boom, working on the field for free. Perfect. So the slavery was gone and then the incarceration happened. And it's basically the perfect real satire. If you think about it, it is completely absurd. And it fits that the history was absurd 250 years ago already. And it was all greed and money driven situation. So they, of course, then in the 60s, 70s, 80s, etc., more and more black people are arrested. And so the question is also, like, everybody talks about the reform of the prison system, and because US has 25% of the world prison population is in US, but in US are only 5% of the people of the world. So it's a completely over just putting people in prison. If you think about it, like 60-70% of the people in prison are black, and half of them are only for possession or minor drug shit in prison. So why Obama didn't pardon them? Why, instead of talking, right? Why not saying, by the way, from the 3.5 million prisoners, 1 million will go home right now. So, but also this doesn't happen, of course, totally absurd. And it fits to the real satire now with Trump, who, what I like, is that all the people that kissed his ass, you know, everybody first said, Trump is a fraud, a liar, blah, 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 blah. Then Rudy Giuliani, Chris Christie, now Mitt Romney tried to be Secretary of State. They all came and kissed his ass and like, please forget everything what I said and now make me a secretary. And he didn't book one of these people, what is actually really, really funny. And then, of course, really not funny is what he did instead. He made a people like Secretary of State is the Exxon Oil CEO, or the Carl's Jr. Burger joint, who was fighting to pay overtime, social welfare, social security, health care for the people that work there, or even minimum wage. He is now in charge for all across America to make sure everybody gets paid and social welfare, social security, and health care, whatever. But of course, he will fight to the death to reverse Obamacare and reverse anything ever done for the working class people. Then about Donald Trump being there for the working class people, so he just proves with a cabinet from billionaires that he will be the best president ever to make the rich even faster richer as ever before, and the poor even poorer as faster before. But we should never forget that when 80% of the people of a country are really poor, the violent attack will happen. And then as a rich person, you need to spend millions and millions of dollars to protect your fucking life. Or you get ripped apart by the mob. That all will come. And as I said, we will end up in a Mad Max kind of scenario. There is nothing what shows that that will be an error.
Jackie and I are on a mission to stop piracy.
If this were a movie, we can take on the bad guys ourselves.
But this is the real world. We need your help.
When you buy pirated movie and music, you support criminals.
Nowadays criminals are counterfeiting other things, like electronics and medicine.
Take action.
Demand the real thing.
Help us stop piracy.
Let's terminate it.
Yeah, some more movie flops like Passengers and other crappy movies came out. The restaurant is going not so bad right now. So, now everybody says Obama is a pussy because he didn't fought the Russians and Assad to save Aleppo. All the mass media who always wants peace is driving news so that we have more war. The reality is, A, what the CIA did in all that years to get rid of one dictator after the other who were Putin friendly, like Gaddafi, Saddam Mubarak, whatever, failed. Now everybody hates America even more and fights against America even more, and the people they supported want to rip America apart. So the question is, were not all the dictators better for that specific people also? Is it not better also that some countries are not democracies? I say yes. Because democracy means in some countries only that you do some elections and everybody kills each other. So if you have a dictator who just rules with a steady hand, basically it is better. And to turn into a democracy, that countries that will happen from alone over decades. You know, it has to develop, and I think with the iPhone, McDonald's, and some movies and TV stuff is the first thing to get into the brains that people think I shouldn't kill everybody, I don't want to be in jail, etc., etc. But that is a different subject. The point with Aleppo is this. We saw in all the mass media the whole time the poor children getting bombed and pulverized. But here's the reality. The reality is that we basically have a totally different situation. The different situation is that in Aleppo, where also the CIA paid rebels to fight Assad the whole time. So Putin and Assad were not bombing just civilists. They were bombing the rebels, but they are in the middle of the civilists and they got killed too. By the way, where's Obama's drone war different? You know, thousands of drone strikes killed thousands of innocent people under Obama. What is that? The only difference is we don't get heartwarming stories with video footage from the burned children around the drone strike in Pakistan. So that is the only difference. The information we're getting. So, and now the people will actually are not getting bombed anymore because the rebels left the city. And that is also how the whole Syrian civil war should end. It should end that the rebels are out, the ISIS is defeated, Assad is the dictator, right? And then we try to work with him on reforms. That is how it should end. Because it will not end that Assad gets removed and then peace, harmony and happiness will come. No, then the heads will get chopped off on the market square of women they don't have the burqa. That will happen right after. And it happened in every fucking single territory America interfered with the CIA. And it is my only hope that that one thing the Trump government will do right. That they think more straight, logical, without any agenda. In just saying, we don't want to spend any more American resources, we don't want to spend any more American soldiers or lives for this piece of shit territory, what we call the Middle East. Just let them do what they have to do and what they want, and don't interfere anymore. And as long you can suck the fucking oil out of that assholes, let them do whatever they want. So, and that is the thing. It's just like, it's so disappointing that every single move in foreign policy of America in regards of the Middle East was completely wrong, from A to Z. And we have to give it to Russia. They are just better. They supported the right people at the right times and stayed away from the wrong people at the wrong times. America not. America used the Middle East to fight Russia. And that was a deadly, idiotic mistake, and it has to get corrected. Well, here's Uwe Boll, and I read an interesting article, and from Chris Hedges, one of my favorite writers, but he's maybe so my favorite because it's so depressed, right? So he's like, he fights for the good stuff and hopes for the best, and we all know that that is the worst thing you can hope for. So he wrote a good article, Revolt is the only barrier to a fascist America. The destruction of democratic institutions, places where the citizens has agency and a voice, is far graver than the ascendancy to the White House of the demagogue Donald Trump. The coup destroyed our two-party system. It destroyed labor unions. It destroyed public education. It destroyed the judiciary. It destroyed the press. It destroyed academia. It destroyed consumers and environmental protection. It destroyed our industrial base. It destroyed communities and cities. And it destroyed the lives of tens of millions of Americans no longer able to find work that provides a living wage, cursed to live in chronic poverty or locked in cages in our monstrous system of mass incarceration. So the coup also destroyed the credibility of liberal democracy. Self-identified liberals such as the Clintons and Barack Obama mouthed the words of liberal democratic values while making war on these values in the service of corporate power. Good line, eh? The revolt we see rippling across the country is a revolt not only against the corporate system that has betrayed workers, but also for many liberal democracy itself. This is very dangerous. It will allow the radical right under the Trump administration to cement into place an Americanized fascism. So that, and then I read an article in the Manager magazine in Germany, how the super rich actually prepping for the end of the earth. And a guy from like one of the founders of Reddit, the US online community, Steve Huffman, he lasered his eyes because he knows he's when somebody gets his glasses away, he's fucked. So they built islands, they built panic rooms, they built bunkers. All the billionaires are already expecting that everything goes down the drain. And that is interesting. Instead of focusing their money to put it into something that will not go down the drain, they let it all happen, and then they spend all their money to survive in a fucking bunker. So totally absurd. And I think that the one thing also what Chris Hedges or the Nation of Change news wire, what they don't get is that you always think you can turn something into something positive, but I deeply believe that humans are not good, and I think that it's way closer to the truth. If you look at history, you know, in history, violence changed history, and dictators changed history way more as finally everything else. And I think, look, if you just put the two systems back to back or all together, you come to a situation where, let's say you have the free market, and like what Trump wants and the Republicans and so on. It ends up that the few have everything and everybody else has nothing. If you play long enough on a monopoly board, like somebody owns everything and everybody else is completely done and owes only to that person. And that is basically in the real capitalism. It's maybe then 100 people own everything, because it's a big board game if you put the whole world economy in it. But it means the greed wins, and somebody and cleverness and whatever, you know, like legal holds and whatever, they win, and then they have it all and everybody else has nothing. And then who have it all getting ripped apart or killed, and then from somebody who says, I free the world, like look at the Stalin and Castro and socialist ideas and communist ideas, whatever. But also this is, even if it's like kind of a cleanse and kills all the old things, then every single communism, socialism idea of now we're sharing it all, we make everybody happy, ends always up also in an elite who has it all, like Putin and so on. But they say we do it all for the masses, we do it all for you, we do it all for everybody. But it's not true. in the very end, I think that the Russian Revolution, the French Revolution, was always a good idea first, and they did it, but it didn't turn into something else, as some other people have everything and the rest has nothing. And I think that is a really big point to see that there is no human solution. I think as humans are together, they will always steer to the end because they don't know when to stop. And that will always happen automatically. So there will be not the paradise on earth. There will be never a government what says, a world government what says we're all working together to omit poverty or diseases, or we treat the climate and the earth how we should treat it. It just will not happen. And I think that is always why then articles also like a Chris Hedges, who fights for the right thing, will also always fail, because he thinks if the fight succeeds, there is happiness then. But the reality is there is then only another form of taking it all and leaving the others in the dust.
コンソメパンチニューポンチじゃないよコンソメパンチうまさが効いてるコンソメパンチコンソメパンチニューコンソメパンチパンチで元気コンソメパンチ
And because it's so a nice day, it's totally shitty. I do another quick video. Do not forget a few things. I just watched Goat with Nick Jonas. A very good movie, actually. It remembers me a little on my Heart of America movie. With young kids going to a fraternity, and then it's a lot of like torture, basically, you know, almost like Guantanamo Bay torture. Very good. Then I watched on Netflix Cuba Libre. It is about the history of Cuba. So Cuba was, of course, invaded and enslaved from the Spanish originally, and in the beginning with Christopher Columbus and so on, Spain was the big bosses, emperors in the whole North and South America. And then later the British came stronger, French, etc., and Spain got less and less important, and in the end basically kept only a few kingdoms like the Mexico, Cuba, and so on, but they dwindled down to almost nothing. So, but in Cuba first was, of course, the tobacco industry, and then later when Haiti got like almost like wiped out from the was a French colony with sugar, then the whole raw sugar stuff was the main thing in Cuba together with the tobacco. So interesting is they actually took 12 million African slaves in boats, and 2 million died already on the boats tour to Cuba, and then they used the slaves on the fields to do everything. This is one of the reasons a lot of the Cubans are black now, because mostly the people that are running around in Cuba right now are mostly like half black or black, because they are basically slave like came out of the slave culture. And then from time to time in Cuba there were revolutions, and Cuba tried to be free, especially from Spain, and there was a lot of, in the 1800s, in the beginning of 1900 was a lot of fighting against the Spanish, and they always got killed, and Spain sent more soldiers. And then it all went down the drain as America was pissed off about Spain, and they almost went in a fight with Spain, and about the sugar industry, because most of that sugar got exported to America. And at one point America felt like, why not taking Cuba? So and that is the reason like that whole mafia-driven 40s, 50s time in Cuba was existing, where Meyer Lansky and the Cuban president basically installed all that casinos and stuff in Cuba. So it was a big, nothing else as a big mafia haven. And so when you see it on retrospective, when you have all like that ex-Cuban guys say he's fled from Castro, from Cuba to Miami, and they're always saying Cuba is so a bad communist state because of Castro and we want to come back. That were the mafia scumbags and capitalists and thieves who had to leave Cuba. And Castro and Che Guevara were the only people actually communists under Khrushchev in Russia, basically friends with Khrushchev and so on, and they freed Cuba the first time the people took over, at least for a moment, and then of course Castro turned also into a dictator. But what Castro did better as Spain, America, the mafia or whatever in the whole history of Cuba was of course the fact that healthcare, schools free, people could basically make their own business. There were no slavery. Everybody had the same rights. So that Castro brought into Cuba. That is one of the reasons you have not so many refugees from Cuba also, because overall the Cuban people living in Cuba had not a total horrific life. In similar countries, there's only the elite rich and everybody else has nothing. And in Cuba, it is a little better evened out with a little more social fairness in all that years. Yes, Castro turned into a dictator, like all big revolutionaries who then stayed too long in power, but it was also far away from being an absolutely horrific life in Cuba. The horrific life was before, when America, Spain, slavery, etc. happened to Cuba. So and then to finish my little video here is like this guy. He is the new US Environmental Protection Agency boss. And he is actually Oklahoma's Attorney General Scott Pruitt. And he is a climate change denier who in earlier years sued the US Environmental Protection Agency, and now Trump made him the boss of the agency. What is that telling us? It will tell us that that agency will do in the future absolutely nothing to protect the environment. Or he basically dissolves it, but then he's out of a job. So I think we'll keep it, but then he will do absolutely nothing to make the environment better. Instead, he will watch polar bears drowning. That was it for today. Bye.